Welcome to Roguecast, the official podcast of Rogues Gallery. We'll talk comics for the week, as well as whatever news is on our pop cultural radar. I'm Randy.
I'm Nick.
This is Dave.
And now, on with the show.
All right, we have a fair amount to talk about this week. We got a new Captain America movie.
Yep.
Nick and I have seen Creature Commandos. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a action movie we talked about the trailer for, The Gorge. Yep. We got a big comics week, including the first week of the One World Under Doom stuff.
Yep.
And
second week of One World.
Second week, yeah. Well, first week of like the
extended
yes,
Doomiverse.
Yeah. They expanded the Doomiverse.
Yes.
and a couple bits of news.
The MC Doom.
MC Doom.
That sounds different. That's a different guy.
Yeah, that is a different guy.
MF Doom.
MF Doom. All right.
By the way, didn't you say that we're barreling towards our 500th episode?
This is episode 497.
Yep.
So in 3 episodes,
we're not planning like some big extravaganza, but maybe we can come up with something kind of fun to highlight our genius.
Maybe so, or maybe it will be like every other episode we've done.
I have some ideas. It's not going to be like every other episode.
Dave's going to fire fireworks off in this office.
Fireworks?
Fireworks.
First of all, we're going to be singing the whole thing.
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't know if you know this, but just about everybody loves musicals.
People love a musical.
It's going to be a Music Meister episode.
Roguecast the musical episode.
Yeah, Nick is right. It's going to be Music Meister style.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Music Maestro, Dave.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, but he sings I'm the Music Meister. No, it is the Music Meister.
Music Meister?
Yeah.
It's not the Music Maestro.
How dare you correct me?
You're right. It's the Music Meister.
I thought you were my musical buddy. But you were a fool.
I can be both.
And Randy, you have you're getting over a bit of a cold right now. So if Randy sounds a little hoarse, it's not just from all the Cuban cigars that he smokes over his millions.
Right.
Are you sure it's not that there's not a talking horse inside a Randy suit?
Oh my God.
There could be. You never know.
Let's ask him something only a horse would know.
Well, I do answer all math problems by stomping my feet. That, of course, is a reference to something from 100 years ago.
Classic Randy Klump answer.
Clomp, clomp.
What were we talking about?
I don't know.
We should talk about the games that
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, first of all, Pokemon Day is coming.
Right.
Next week, February 27th, we will be doing our second annual Pokemon Day, which is Serena's gets us stuff for National Pokemon Day. We'll have some Pokemon cards for sale. Probably will all sell that day. Which
we should say are probably not going to be the newest cards. No. And if you're like a hyper collector and you want to buy 10,000, this is not actually your day.
No, it's for kids.
It's for kids. We're going to have, we want to be able to have some to sell to kids. And are we going to have some little gift bags to give away for their...
gift bags. We'll make your own Pokemon drawings, which is always fun.
Right, the Pokemon hunt.
Finding Pokemon in the store. Not hunting. You don't like skin them and put them on the wall.
That's a different Pokemon.
Let the kids do what they need to do.
They're going to put them in Pokeballs. Pokeball jail.
Yeah, that's right. And did you say the art thing?
Yeah, kids draw their own Pokemon.
We did just the test drive of this last year, and I feel it was very successful.
It was super successful. Yeah, people loved it.
So yeah, Serena did a great job, and looking forward to doing that again this year. Clearly, Pokemon is in the zeitgeist right now, so much so that we cannot
get cards.
Yeah, if you've been looking for them, again, we're not going to be getting like the coolest, newest thing.
People love Pocket Monsters,
but we are trying every week, and when we can get them, we absolutely will.
Yep. All right, game-wise, there was a couple trick-taking games, a sumo trick-taking game.
Oh, that's fun.
And a game called Tokuri, which is a sake drinking trick-taking game.
Interesting.
There's a thing called Battle Dental, which is a 2-player combat game.
Okay.
There is the Plot Thickens.
What does dental mean?
I think it's dental with a French accent.
Oh, okay. So it is actually meant to evoke that.
I have no idea.
I'm going to guess it's a teeth fighting game.
It looked like goblins to me.
Okay. All right. I'm going to look into this because I need to know now.
Maybe it's Dentali.
I will bring the word to the people next week, or Nick may look it up on his phone right now.
Yeah. We got the Plot Thickens Adventure. Plot Thickens are these series of add into your RPG some development stuff,
twist and turn type of stuff.
Yeah. We previously had a sci-fi one, a crime one. This is adventure.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. Occasionally, you might just want to be like time to thicken.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, I say that. I know one of our customers bought it. I don't actually know what it does. It's a storytelling game for quick thinking, imaginative folks just like you and your friends.
Dentalid is the Italian word for tooth.
Okay.
In that game, you play as either Gumrot the Goblin or Toothache the Troll, competing to collect the best collection of teeth from a jawbone.
Okay, got it.
Very specific goblin game style game. Yeah.
Okay.
The storytelling games are fun.
Yeah.
You know, I've played those before. I like doing like improvisational story stuff from prompts and things. That's cool.
Yeah. We got Dice Throne X-Men in. So there's 2 boxes. There's the Lovers, which is Rogue and Gambit and Cyclops and Jean Grey. And then there's a Fighters, which is
Psylocke
Storm,
and Wolverine.
Psylocke. Or no, it's not Storm. It's Psylocke. Iceman, Psylocke, Wolverine, and who's the other one?
Is that Rogue?
No, but Rogue's and the Lovers.
Oh, that's right.
Banshee. I'm going to say Banshee. It's not
Sure,
Banshee.
it's not
Banshee.
but it's finally Banshee.
Yeah, finally it's Banshee.
Now, let me quick ask, because I've always wanted to play Dice Throne, never gotten around to it. The fantasy side of it looks cool, but the hero side of it intrigues me more as a longtime Marvel fan.
Yep.
Is it always a 2-player game, or can it be multiplayer?
It is Storm, by the way.
Oh, Storm. Okay, yeah, that's a good one.
It is... No, you can play up to 6 players.
Okay.
In fact, in theory, if you had multiple Dice Thrones, you could play like 20 people, but it would be nightmarish.
Right. Okay. But yeah, I know somebody came by and picked up picked one of those up the other day and was talking about it and said it was a lot of fun. I think in particular he was maybe playing it with his sons.
Yeah,
and they were loving it.
It's one of my favorite games, and I own all of it. I've kickstarted enough that I have like the co-op ones, which they don't make available to us.
Yeah.
He even owns the Deadpool one.
I even own the Deadpool one, which did come as... Actually, I don't yet, but I will. It is the other box. You can buy a Deadpool box, which can go with any other Dice Throne set. And they're all compatible. So if you want to use the Marvel X-Men, the new X-Men versus, say, Thor and Captain Marvel and Black Panther and all that, you can. Doctor Strange.
And
Or
can you have them fight like a treant and
you can
like from
fight
the fantasy
treants
ones?
or ninjas or barbarians or a gunslinger.
I mean, I have to admit that's pretty cool.
It's pretty
It
cool.
is.
I like games that do that. You know, it's one of the cool things about Hero Clicks too. Back in the day, you know, you could have like characters from indie comics fighting DC comics, fighting Marvel characters.
And you could see if they would defeat the Professor X.
They even had horror ones. Remember Horror Clicks?
I do. I remember also there was a Top Cow Clicks. We had like
It's
the
also-
indie comics clicks.
It's also akin to the newer game system like that, Unmatched,
yeah.
Yep.
where you can pit random people
Yep.
against each other.
Just think, Marvel and DC, you could get in on this if you were less stick up your asses.
True. But anyway, it's so basically it's combat Yahtzee is the way I describe it to people. It's super fun.
Cool.
Robo Rally got 2 new expansions, basically new maps.
Yep.
For the popular Robo Rally game. It's
Yep.
sort of programming your robots.
Yep.
Until Proven Guilty, a storytelling game that is no way Phoenix Wright.
Oh, right. This is the one where he's actually looks like he's doing the objection thing on the cover.
Yeah.
Yep. That said, despite possibly incurring litigation, it's probably pretty fun.
Ironically. Then we got Lost in Adventure: The Labyrinth, which is another one of these adventure game type exit, all those kind of adventure. And then G.I. Joe Deck Building gets a new expansion, Crimson Veil, which introduces the Crimson Guard.
Nice.
Very cool.
We all like the Crimson Guard here.
That's true.
That's true.
That's true. Including Tomax and Zaymont, their leaders.
Yes, the brothers who feel pain
Yes.
together.
Finish each other.
Are they riff on the brothers Karamazov or something?
I don't know. There had to have been some idea of this in the past, though, where that happened. And first of all, by the way, I don't know anything about the brothers Karamazov.
Me neither.
But that's like a piece of literature. They're not some dumb thing where you punch somebody and the other guy feels it.
You don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it happens, but
Well, Dave, it says here on Wikipedia that it is a passionate philosophical novel that discusses questions of God, free will, and morality. And then it says, and also they can punch each other and feel pain.
oh,
It doesn't say
I
that
guess
part.
you were right.
It doesn't say that part.
Wow.
Well, we'll say that in about 15 minutes when I update it.
So yeah, I don't know. I just assumed the brothers Karamazov involved in punching each other.
So, brother, we meet again.
And then I stabbed myself. What do you think about that? Karamazov.
Well played, brother Karamazov.
All right, let's talk about comics of the week.
All right, sure.
I'm going to start with the One World Under Doom stuff. These crossovers tend to expand very quickly.
Yes, sure.
And week one, if you dug one, we all liked One World Under Doom quite a bit. I
Yeah.
think the first issue. And this thing is going to expand out fast. There are 5 issues this week. There are 2 that are tie-ins to ongoing books. Storm number 5, where she had already been dealing with Dr. Doom previously.
Yep.
And X Factor number 7, where the X Factor team is sent on a mission to a space station. Or no, it's a world that is, or a nation, an island nation that's controlled by an algorithm. The citizens decided basically to let the algorithm run their government.
Okay.
And they go there because they're trying to prevent Doom from getting what this technology is or whatever.
I was going to say that sounds like the worst idea ever. But
it's not great.
But
it's not great.
Compared to where we are right at this moment,
Still better.
maybe better.
Maybe better.
Give it a shot.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm between Musk and a dumb AI. I don't know that.
Yeah,
I don't know what I pick.
Give me the Doom algorithm.
Yeah, give me the Doom algorithm. And then we've got the specific miniseries that are tied into it. Thunderbolts Doomstrike, which is a continuation of Kelly and Lanzig's Thunderbolts.
Right. This is kind of like the sign that I made for it, and I know there's some big things that happen in it to prompt this, but Bucky, it's Bucky trying to put together a strike team to take down Doom.
Yep.
And he has big cause for it that is in this issue.
Yep. Doom Academy, which is a continuation of Strange Academy, except that Dr. Doom is the Sorcerer Supreme now.
Is he like literally strolling the academy like it's Hogwarts?
Oh, no, he's opened his academy in Latveria.
Yes.
Right, but does he like walk around and they're like, "Hey, fascist, dear leader"?
He does the opening ceremony thing.
Okay.
But I believe he's not one of the teachers are the same teachers that were at Strange Academy.
Do the kids know that?
Yes.
Are they like?
In fact, the kid comments on there's the one early on, and I think the first page. He's like, I get that Sorcerer Supremes love to name things out of themselves, but maybe we can write someone with a less ominous one. It's scaring the children.
That's actually the least of their problems.
Yeah, the name is the least of the problems. We have what maybe my favorite read this week, which is Godzilla Heist.
Yes, this is not a Doom tie-in.
This is not a Doom tie-in. That was all the Doom tie-ins.
Okay.
This is a story. They did a book called Kaiju Heist a little while back, where a guy was basically using the kaiju attacks as a distraction.
Yeah.
This is specifically a guy who he has figured out a way to basically call Godzilla to attack and like move him around with drones so that he provides a perfect backdrop for a heist.
Now let me ask, because I just kind of flipped through this, but I haven't read it. Mm-hmm. Is this played kind of lightweight, or because like I would think that like whenever he did this, like dozens of people would die.
It's not goofy, like,
so he could rob a bank.
It's definitely like they do definitely show the collateral damage and stuff.
Do we see dead children? If I don't see dead children,
no,
then it's not as dark as I thought.
But I think
so. Wait, he's got signals or whatever.
He's figured out a way to signal Godzilla that can sort of summon him.
Right, sort of like a dog whistle.
So it opens with a heist, and then he gets recruited by a crew who want to use him and Godzilla to pull even bigger heist.
Okay.
It's really fun. I thought it was a really good first issue.
Premise-wise, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And they've done both like kind of pretty cool premises like that and cool but ridiculous premises with Godzilla lately, like the Godzilla versus literature one,
yep.
or Godzilla versus skateboarders one.
IDW really seems to know what to do with this license.
Yeah.
There's also I like the art quite a bit. I think the artist.
I was flipping through it, and that was something that I liked a lot.
Yeah. Stranger Things: Dungeons and Dragons. This 4-issue miniseries that is basically the secret origin of Eddie Munson, how he joined the. Because if you watch Stranger Things, I don't know if y'all are caught up or not. Eddie just shows up and he is suddenly the DM for their group.
Right. It's like he's, they were playing D&D before him.
Yeah,
but he became the DM.
Yeah.
And this is written by Jodie Hauser, who's written some of the D&D crossover stuff in the past.
Yep.
And she clearly seems to have a real history with D&D. We know that you reminded me, Randy, that she wrote Faith.
Yep.
The nerd-centric hero for Valiant Comics a few years back, more than a few years back. And I liked all of her writing on that. But yeah, it's a chance to hang out with these dweeby kids again and watch them play D&D.
It is also they're flashing back to Eddie when he first learned to play D&D as well, before he is like Eddie Munson.
Oh, interesting. So
it's like him as a younger kid learning to play, and then he comes to their school. Another Dark Horse from says a true weird story, which is I think the same headline they're using for that Blue Book and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah,
right. These are like cryptid stories and strange, tales, X-Files-y stuff.
It's called "Let This One Be a Devil." It's by James Tinian, Steve Fox, and the artist Piotr Kowalski. Art is really nice, by the way.
It is.
This is about the Jersey Devil, right, Dave?
Yes. Yeah, and how research, what's research and what's kind of invention. I do not know, but I know that their initial depiction of it is very cool, and especially this scene where I don't think there's big spoilers in Jersey Devil comics. I'm just going to say there's a scene in 1909 where a guy hears this shrieking outside of his kind of like cabin, and he goes out with his rifle to see what it is, and he finds all their chickens dead, and then he rounds a corner, and this big hulking winged thing with horns is devouring them messily. And the way it's paced, I think this was a very James Tynion vibe to it. Is they face off and their eyes kind of lock, and he manages the guy does manage to get his gun up and fire at it, and it launches up, and it lands in the treetops, and then it launches off into the air.
There's some real creepy and gross stuff in this. It's really well, the art is really well done.
Yeah. If you're into the cryptid X-Filesy world, James Tynion is clearly his true weird subline of comics.
But I think these are mostly taken from real world accounts, and
right?
things like that.
I think
because I just looked it up, and 1909 was the first reported sighting of the Jersey Devil.
Yeah, I know the Blue Book is definitely based on testimonials about UFOs, like the Barney and Betty Hill and stuff like that were kind of famous.
I would imagine
cases.
that's kind of this
okay.
series of
They
books
put the
are
word
gonna
true
be
in it,
Yeah,
and they
it's
can't
true.
do that if it's not true.
It's true.
Dun, dun, dun,
That is also true. Yep. There's the new Zatanna book, which is written and drawn by Jamal Campbell. Really, really nice art on this. It's sort of painty.
Yes. I know he's introducing a kind of a new thread in it called the Lady White.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is a magician from the 1950s, I think.
Yeah. There was there's mention of a few different names at some point in here.
Yeah, it's a major theater that has hosted a lot of magicians in the
That's
past,
right,
including her father and stuff like
Right.
that.
Yep.
And the Lady White was one of them.
Yep.
And it turns
Maybe-
out she's not
maybe
quite
not
as
as gone.
deceased as you might imagine.
Yep. So yeah, if you're a fan of the fishnet magician lady who speaks backwards,
Yep.
and
It's a fun first issue.
works with the JLA sometimes, this you might want to check this out. It's a mini series, 4 or 6 issues or
Yep.
something.
This one, y'all have been talking about this one. We have all 3 issues of New Gods in this week. We got a reprint of 1 and 2, and we got the new issue number 3.
Yep.
So I decided to take advantage and give it a read.
Yep.
I'm not a New Gods fan. I find them to be kind of boring.
Yeah.
I think they're one of Kirby's weaker creations.
Yep.
I am the guy who's always in online arguments when people are like, Stan Lee's doesn't do anything. I'm like, here's what Kirby did without Stan Lee. I'm like, they're both talented. That's my point.
Is there a butt coming?
But I really liked this. I thought Romby's New Gods was really good.
Yeah, it's I am a New Gods fan, but a lot of times that fandom kind of comes, admittedly, more in theory than in practice.
Yep.
I like them as guest stars and supporting characters, but when they get their own book, I'm just like, oh, that's boring.
And they've had great moments, like showing up in Ostrander's Suicide Squad.
Yep.
Yeah, that's probably the only place I've ever liked them.
That was
actually.
30, 40 years ago,
Yeah.
but yes.
Oh my god. I don't like that.
Don't start doing math. That leads to really horrible things.
This one, though, we've talked about it in the past. It's kind of got multiple stories going. There's some, there is some of that big New God stuff that's, dealing with the primordial formation of them, that's, flashing back, sort of. That is actually quite interesting.
Yep.
There is also machinations going on Apocalypse in the power vacuum left by Darkseid's disappearance after recent events in DC. That's also interesting. And then there's the kind of more down-to-earth story where a new god is being has kind of been reborn or born onto Earth.
And being pursued by Scott Free.
Also
being pursued by
Maxwell
Scott
Lord.
Free at the behest of Orion, who has been tasked with killing this new god for somewhat unknown reasons by a seemingly much more bloodthirsty Highfather than we're used to.
Yep.
Yeah.
The thing that really got me was I like Scott Free and Miracle Man.
Yep.
Or Mr. Miracle.
Yep.
I thought when when he was going to abandon Barda, I was like, oh, that's kind of annoying. I like that they immediately subverted that, and she's like, she found the note and followed him, and she's like, what are you doing? I'm going with you.
Yep. And in this issue, they
has
have
a great moment with her.
Yeah, and I think we can say that it includes their old sidekick Oberon.
Yep,
in this.
I thought they did a great job with him.
I've not seen him in ages. There is some sly humor about his kind of like bro time with Scott, and a little bit of resentment he had towards Barda. That's actually quite funny. And I'm like, the book absolutely needed that. If it was just all the Lofty God stuff, I would not be able to get into it.
Yeah, it's got an approachable thing to it as well. I agree. Also, the art is spectacular.
Yeah,
is it all really one artist?
No, it's two different ones.
Is it two artists?
I thought it was.
Or is it a guy who's got chameleon styles because he?
I see other names.
Oh wait, there are two artists. At least.
I thought there were two artists.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're both super good. They are handling different sequences in the book.
Okay.
And like, there's parts of this that look like it's like heavy metal, like really good heavy metal art. And by the way, for those who don't know, because heavy metal's not that well known now, heavy metal's like super detailed European art from like like in the 70s and 80s. It was a big thing. Very elaborate art that had nudity and swords and blood.
Yep. So the main artist is Evan Cagle, and he's the one doing a lot of the stuff that I really like. But the flashback, or the other artists doing sort of the cosmic stuff sometimes, are different in every issue.
I had to look what he had done. He did that Superman the Authority story that was really good. Yeah.
But it looks like they're bringing out, he's doing the main story, and then they're doing some of the cosmic flashbacks, some of that stuff, and that belongs to other artists. It's different ones every time.
Yep.
Which is interesting.
I have to say, the cosmic flashbacks are actually pretty... The lore of it is actually really interesting. I was talking about this with you, Randy, earlier today, that I've seen, honestly, some lesser writers handle New Gods lore or try to add on to it, or say, like, oh, this is the story of the gods before the New Gods and stuff like that. And it's... Most of it is just kind of very ho-hum, and this is actually pretty interesting. Like, it feels like fascinating lore. It feels like some lost thing from, what's that game that everybody was playing that George R.R. Martin wrote, that hack-slash game? Nick? Elden Ring.
George R.R. Martin wrote that? I didn't know that.
He did. Okay. He wrote the lore for it.
I learned a new thing today.
Yeah. One of the many reasons why that game was popular. Also because people like to punish themselves.
Is Romfey a novelist? Is that what it is?
I don't know. Romfey just kind of showed up, and I've liked a lot of what he's written.
Yeah.
I've liked his Boom books quite a bit, and he does sort of big... He is the guy to write this. He does the sort of big, thinky, imaginative stuff.
So basically this week New Gods 3 hits. Do we have them all?
We have 1, 2, and 3. Yep.
If you want to try, this is the perfect time.
This is your chance.
You've got about 3 days, and then at least one of the issues will probably be sold out.
That's right. It's on you.
Yep. It's on you.
Go.
All right. G.I. Joe number 4, which has some fun stuff.
Fun issue. There's
the Crimson Twins are here.
There's a chase sequence in it. There's a continuation of Clutch's infiltration of Cobra's headquarters. There's also
there's a Dreadnought.
There's a Dreadnought who gets to do some pretty cool shit.
And Mercer gets to throw up one-liners that I absolutely loved.
Yep. Also, you know how like in the last issue, Cobra Commander thwarted an assassination attempt where he didn't, I guess, want people to know that the person who was trying to assassinate him was from Cobra Law, was not human.
Right.
Is it Destro who finds the body?
Yeah.
And he's like...
I like that Cobra is basically an organization with 3 different factions, and none of them like each other.
Yeah.
Destro is trying to one-up them, the twins are trying to...
and also
it's different, but that does go back to OG Cobra, especially in the comics. In the cartoon, it was more Destro would get annoyed at Cobra Commander, and there wasn't much beyond that. But this was actually a little more reflective of the comics, where you had Major Blood and Destro and the Baroness, and when Cobra Commander would have a Storm Shadow closely allied with him, or vying different moving factions.
Yeah.
Also, the sniper lady calls Destro lover, so I guess maybe they're not doing the Baroness thing.
No, they're in a romantic relationship. They were at the end of the Destro.
I'd forgotten that.
Yeah,
Chameleon.
Destro's a player.
He is.
He's the biggest. Is he the biggest player in G.I. Joe? I think so. I'm we know there's other people who occasionally have relationships and stuff, but nobody who's as cool about it as Destro is.
True.
It's probably because he wears a medallion on his bare chest.
It is true. Or the metal mask. People love a metal mask.
Oh, yeah.
Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man number 3. Next week we're going to talk about the cartoon, which we've all been watching and enjoying. We're going to wait till it wraps and then we'll talk about the whole thing. But I think we all really enjoy it.
Broadly, we were saying you should see it.
You should watch it.
There are some really... I think the thing that I will continue to say is the most intriguing part about it for me is how unpredictable it is. It is not following standard Spider-Man lore.
Not at all.
It is using the bits and pieces of that lore, but it is changing them in such a way that there's very new dynamics to it. And so it feels different than expected, which I really like. It's nice to watch Spider-Man and not really know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think it's as good as X-Men 97.
I'm pretty much there, too.
Also, if you're griping about the animation, you're wrong. That's just where it is.
That's true. That's beautiful.
Do you want to have a punch-up?
Yeah.
We'll have a punch-up.
Let's punch up. Milestone Universe Shadow Cabinet, their sort of Kingdom Come wraps up. I thought it was a pretty fun read.
Oh, good.
Batman and Robin Year 1, number 5, continues to have really, really gorgeous art by Chris Samney.
Yep.
The Questionable on the Watchtower, number 4. And long-awaited Aliens vs. Avengers number 3 comes out this week, which we still have 2. Number 1, there's a second printing coming in a couple weeks. Did I miss Weapon X-Men?
I think we did not hit Weapon X-Men, which was
yeah.
a notable new X-Men number 1 book. This is
and it's also One World Under Doom.
This is the team that on my sign I described as the X-Men Mayhem team, or All Mayhem team.
Wolverine, Deadpool, Cable, Thunderpath, Warpath.
Warpath and Chamber.
Warpath and Chamber, yes.
Yep.
I couldn't remember what his name was anymore.
Yep. And now, I know Chamber came from Gen X.
Yeah.
Is he a crazy killer assassin like all these other
I don't
people?
think so.
No, I don't
No,
think so.
he's just
He was
I know that he had a
sad,
dangerous, I don't have a jaw, instead I emit death energy.
He's a sad British man whose face blew off.
Right. I
true.
mainly knew him as a sad British man whose face blew off. Which,
It happens.
it happens.
Yeah, that's why you don't go to England.
It's dangerous. But he seems to be hanging out with the bros now. I feel like he's like the nerd in their group, even though he could blow you up. But yeah. So basically, I think if that team lineup sounds good to you, then this is the book for you.
Any other single issues?
Chris Cross.
Chris Cross
who's a
art,
good artist who has not. I've just not
the
seen
young
him.
rapping duo from the 90s.
Seen him a lot lately. Yeah, not the backwards clothes wearing kids of the 90s.
He's going to make you jump.
But rather, what was Chris Cross's, the biggest book I knew him from was, Captain Marvel or something.
I first saw him on Blood Syndicate.
Oh,
He
man.
was great on Blood Syndicate.
Yeah. You remember he worked with Peter David, though, on, one of those
He did.
Captain Marvel books?
He did. It was Janice Vell. Yeah, he co-created
I was trying to
Janice
remember what's his name was.
Yep.
Janice Vell, yeah. Anyway, but he's a talented artist, and he's on this book. He's back. If you're one of those rare Chris Cross fans, hey, look, he's there.
He's got a little bit of the vibe of Carlos Pacheco, actually. I think he's really good.
He also reminded me a little bit of a not quite as exaggerated. Who's that guy who did the? Oh my God,
Carl Barks.
The early Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider art.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
And he
about.
also did that fighting comic for Image, that violent thing where you
worked
look
with
and
Justin
learn
Jordan,
kung fu.
and his name is Lost in Time.
All right, we're going to come back to this
Yep.
one.
There's also the second issue of Ultimate Wolverine.
Right?
the
Okay.
Chris
Yep,
Condon.
I forgot about that.
And I also wanted to mention that tomorrow we're going to be doing kind of a sort of mini customer appreciation.
Oh, yeah. We should have spotlighted this early on.
Myself and...
Tradmore, by the way. Tradmore.
That's
Tradmore.
right.
Trad.
Yeah,
Trad.
myself and staffers Serena and Jeanette, we've all kind of banded together to do kind of an art project.
Yep.
We have done kind of character head sketches,
On the store, the brown bags that we
Brown
normally...
bags.
The comic size bags that we put your comics in each week.
and we are going to be doing kind of... You come in tomorrow morning and you will get a random piece of artwork while supplies last.
Yeah, just a sort of a fun giveaway that you guys have put your heart and soul into. I've seen y'all all working on them in the last week or two, and it's been super fun. And I've loved all the work, and you've done well-known characters, and then somewhat lesser tier characters I don't know. Diamondback, one of the Captain America's enemy turned lover at one point. She was his girlfriend in the 80s, or Misty Knight, who's
Misty
a little tier higher. But then you've done also some of the big names like Thor and.
But I did
that.
versions that I wanted to draw or favorites of mine. Like I did the bearded Thor that was the latter half of Simonson's run, I believe.
Yep.
Which is
You know why he grew that beard, Nate?
Was it Secret Identity Purposes?
Hela, Goddess of Death, scratched his face in a physical combat and like left him with horrific scars that wouldn't heal, so he wore the beard for a while.
But I'm just trying to get back into drawing, and I kind of had a lot of fun just challenging myself with random people. So, I don't know. I hope people enjoy them.
Cool, yeah. I think they're going to dig it.
They are really cool.
By the way, I had one more other comic I wanted to sneak in.
Yep.
Which was, I am continuing to, if you're a Oz nerd like I am, and I know there's not a lot of us, but, they're out there. The Patchwork Girl of Oz, the Image comic adaptation of one of the, it's kind of taken over where Marvel left off years back.
Yep.
Second issue is also really fun. The second issue hits this week. And I just want to mention, like, some of the, like, kind of little extra stuff that he put in there, in addition to like good character designs throughout and a good adaptation. There's like a little, like almost like a little guide to the characters that are sometimes just mentioned as supporting characters in the back, where they have like a piece of art and like a character write up, and it's like official looking, like it looks like this could be printed as a little Oz guidebook.
Who are the characters? They can't be as good as the Bugglesworth guy it was last time. What was his name? HBG.
Professor H.M. Wogglebug T.
H.M. Wogglebug T.E.
T.E.
Yes.
Thoroughly
educated.
Thoroughly educated and highly magnified.
Highly magnified, yes.
Yes.
You told me to explain it. It made me very happy. I enjoyed it. So I don't know if they're anywhere near as good in this one.
So these are mostly characters from, I think, the second Oz book. There's Mombi the Witch, which people may remember from Return to Oz.
Yeah.
Actually, these are all characters who are in from Return to Oz. There's a little boy named Tip, who in... he has
the sawhorse, right? Isn't that his?
He does.
Yeah.
He does. Tip will later be revealed to be Princess Ozma, the rightful ruler who was hidden in the body of a boy. Baum may have been talking about some progressive topics before it was that safe to talk about them. Jack Pumpkinhead is in this as well.
Nice. Yep, like that.
And part of the reason why this comes up is the same magic powder that Mombi had and that created Jack Pumpkinhead. Again, if you've seen the Return to Oz movie with Fairuza Balk, you saw at least some version of this story. But that is actually that powder. You meet the inventor of that powder who traded it to Mombi. That's the guy in this. He's the guy who made it, though, is not evil. And eventually,
is his name Hollingsley Powdersworth?
No, I forget what it was, though. But yes, sure. And there's a little interview in the end that's kind of why he adapted this particular one. He did note that I saw in the interview that he said that Frank Baum, it was his favorite of his own books.
Okay,
the one that he just liked best. So that's pretty cool.
Dave, you've run a fair amount of different games in various worlds and that kind of thing.
Yep.
You don't run an Oz game.
That's
you think
true.
it'd be one of those things where you'd need people to be like.
Well, you don't need to know it, but it might be a little too whimsical for for D&D players who need to kill, need to stab. Not that I run D&D either.
Yeah.
But I actually bought an indie game that's called like the Zentabulous Sorcerer of Zoe. Do you remember this?
Yes.
From many years ago?
Yeah.
It is a clear indie Oz knockoff, or with a little bit of what's the other thing? Alice in Wonderland in there too.
Okay, yeah.
They share some similarities. But it's maybe in this our year of Wicked might be a fun time to consider something like that.
Finally, we can do the musical RPG I've wanted to do forever.
Well, we'll have warmed up by doing the musical 500th episode.
Yeah, 500th
I hope y'all are working on your singing voices.
I'm ready.
I've been practicing for the last 2 years.
Why do you think I'm so hoarse? I have been practicing for our musical episode. People will be so disappointed or relieved in 3 episodes.
I'm just going to respond with some clops.
Nick will clop and beatbox.
We got several second printings this week, including the new gods we mentioned. But Ultimate Wolverine #1, so if you missed that, you'll get Wolverine 1 and 2 this week. Magik #1, which flew out of here.
Yeah, it did.
Batman Dark Patterns #1, which unfortunately #2 is still out of print.
We're working on it.
We're working on it. And then I want to mention one trade, the Beasts of Burden Omnibus, which is a big trade collecting all the stuff that Evan Dorkin and Jill Thompson did with some other artists about the sort of like sorceress dogs who protect like a New Hampshire town, I think, or something.
Yeah. They're like animal investigators of the supernatural.
Yeah, something akin to like a Hellboy BPRD style.
but they're all dogs.
And it's most traditionally painted by Jill Thompson.
Yep.
With this kind of watercolor realism.
Yeah.
Kind of veers a little dark.
It does sometimes, but it's also really good.
Right, but it's like cool supernatural adventures. I think people who grew up with, like, if you read like those Warrior Cat graphic novels, or not graphic novels, but books that have now become graphic novels sometimes. Nim, as Watership Down, any of the Redwall, any of that kind of stuff. If you, maybe even what's
or if you like The Secret Lives of Pets.
I was gonna say Bloomborough from Magic the Gathering. But yes, any of that kind of stuff. Honestly, even X-Files, because this is like X-Files pets.
If you like Stray or Feral, one of those.
Yep. There's so many reasons why you should be reading it.
Everyone should. It's great.
And this is a very beautiful collection.
Yeah, it's really nice. Okay, let's take a break, and we're going to come back and talk about a couple bits of news, and then some movies and TV and all that kind of stuff. All right, we got a couple little bits of news to talk about here. Mortal Kombat is having Mortal Kombat 2.
Right. I think we knew that.
The movie.
The movie.
Okay.
Not the actual tournament.
No, I think this is the actual tournament, right?
Yes.
Are any of y'all going to go to the tournament?
Yes, I'm definitely gonna. I'm gonna fight Goro.
Only if Goro is there.
Do you guys know? I don't know about Goro, but there was only slot. Nobody was signed to fight him, so it's like, oh well, this is how I'll get in. I'll fight this Goro guy, and it seems like nobody signed to fight him. So I'm figuring probably pretty
I'll
lightweight.
definitely try and get a seat in the stands then.
Anyway,
good.
I haven't done any fight training, but I'm pretty sure I can take him.
A little crash course the week before.
Yeah.
Take like one of those self-defense courses.
Yeah, or like I've played like back when Xbox 360 had the Kinect.
Yeah.
I would play like those little fighting games where you like fought with it.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm essentially a mixed martial artist.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
Anyway, Prince Goro. I don't know if you guys heard. He's a prince, so he's probably pretty dainty.
Lightweight.
Yeah,
lightweight.
So I'm gonna kick his ass.
All right. So Mortal Kombat 2.
This is subtitled Johnny Cage or whatever.
It is Johnny Cage because it's Carl Urban playing Johnny Cage.
Carl Urban.
Now I didn't know this. So the previous Mortal Kombat. This is not the one from the '90s, of course. Which also had a few like crappy direct-to-video type sequels or small budget sequels.
This last one was boring as hell, wasn't it?
It was bad.
It
really
was
bad.
okay.
Was it?
It had its moments, I guess I would say. Who did it focus on?
Scorpion.
Scorpion.
And it ended up being about
then a new character.
the journey to and training for the tournament, but didn't actually show the tournament, which...
Yeah, at the very end, they were going to
bold
the island.
of them to do that, I guess.
Well, Twisted Metal did the same thing. They set up the tournament for the season 2.
Twisted Metal did it well.
Yes, Twisted Metal did it well.
Was Metal still twisted?
Yeah, it was.
But anyway...
There was no tournament in Mortal Kombat. That's the whole game.
But, by the way, that Mortal Kombat, the newer Mortal Kombat movie was, years ago.
Yeah,
it
was in the era. It was during the pandemic because they released it on HBO Max instead of releasing it in theaters.
Okay. So this is a bit of a gap for those kind of schlocky movies to be like, well, here's hope it has been worth 5 years, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: Carl Urban has my interest.
Carl Urban's always good.
Playing the infamous and fun character Johnny Cage, a sort of washed up movie hero, and almost like if the filmic or like the fictional version of a Jean-Claude Van Damme type, who's kind of washed up and past his prime, but still cool. Urban could do that.
Yeah.
If the movie has some fun writing. Well, what's Urban like? We know he's done like a lot of wide variety of movies. Does he mostly pick pretty good movies?
I mean, Dredd was great.
Yeah.
He was
in Lord of the Rings. He's good in that.
He was the best one of the best parts of the Star Trek movies.
He was in Thor and did a good job as the Executioner.
Yeah, he did, although that was not the best version of the Executioner.
Not the best version.
But, fun enough.
Right, they got some of the basics in there.
He also kills it on The Boys.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was trying to think, he hasn't had too many big missteps.
Nope.
His, agent and him, seem to pick solid stuff. I don't know if they're picking,
Even voice work. He was in Sea Beast. He was one of the main characters
That's right, and he was great in that.
Is he... I don't know that he ever exactly makes... Does he make any A-list movies?
Well, he was in Doom in 2005, so that might have been...
That was 2005, Carl Urban. Let him give a guy a chance, right? That was 20 years ago.
He was in Rise of Skywalker as a stormtrooper.
Really?
Yep.
That had to be just one of those fun things.
Yeah, he wanted to be in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, what his presence mean is that even though I did not particularly like the previous movie, I will give this consideration if it has a cool trailer.
I would never have watched another one of these. I hated that Mortal Kombat movie.
Yeah.
I would watch this if it's good.
Agreed.
If the trailers look good, I might be in. Carl Urban, you've brought me back.
Yeah, and then you can maybe pick up a few fight moves from Cage before this fun.
Oh, you think I can shadow kick Goro?
Yeah, just before you kind of take your shot.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, he's a prince. He's probably a little dainty fancy man.
Think he'd fold the way Prince would have folded?
Oh no, Prince would kick my ass. but I'm like, all I gotta do is steal his ladyfingers and kick him right in the groin. I'm sure that'll get us.
Okay.
For some reason, Joel McHale is going to be in Mortal Kombat 2, and I'm like, what?
Is he playing Prince Goro?
Who's that?
He's from Community.
Okay,
And the
yeah,
suit.
I can picture him. Yeah.
All right. There's also, this is very exciting news for me, Netflix has a Forgotten Realms show coming.
Oh, yeah.
A live-action Forgotten Realms show from Sean Levy, who did Stranger Things and Deadpool Wolverine.
Okay.
And writer-showrunner Drew Cavello from We Crashed, which, did Nick ever watch We Crashed? Was the one about the WeWork people and how messed up they were?
I did that. The
It was
Jared
solid.
Leto and
Jared Leto and Anne Hathaway?
Yeah, I liked that.
It was solid.
One. Yeah.
So, a good creative team.
So these are kind of people coming from action, but with humor places, right?
Yes, yep.
Which I think is generally a good notion.
That's the recipe, yes, for sure.
Over the last few years, we've seen some big budget fantasy shows, and they've met with mixed results. But we liked Rings of Power, but I also didn't watch season 2.
Yep.
So on that serious side, I liked. What was the Wheel of Time?
Yep.
But also didn't watch season 2.
Yep, season 3 is about to come out. I haven't watched that either.
Season 3 is about to come out. But those are all ones that are pretty self-serious. So I think there's actually some room for D&D, particularly right now. Not just because people still have good energy off of D&D from Critical Role and Stranger Things and other things that helped hype it up, and just the general success of the current edition. I think this could actually be something pretty cool.
This also means probably we'll get Drist and Elminster and some of the cooler characters. Minsk and Boo.
Honestly, this is the Forgotten Realms because it is their most kind of shared worldy world. They could drop in if they ever things are a little slow. We need to get some ratings. Let's bring in the kids from the D&D cartoon.
Yep.
They already showed it in the last movie.
Now the downside, everyone seems to be treating this like this is the last nail in the coffin of the idea of getting a
Dragonlance.
No, the Heroes the movie sequel.
Oh,
they're basically they're moving
maybe
on.
So, but I kind of thought that nail was already there anyway.
Me too. I was still hoping.
Well, I think its popularity on streaming, Netflix, I think it was one of the bigger watched things. That's definitely kind of garnered more interest.
Well, they changed. I think the thing is that Hasbro had this E1 development. They had that there all
At Paramount,
and that crashed.
Yep.
And so now this is a completely new thing.
Yep.
Yep.
People in Hollywood they hate to have anybody else's success. They'd rather they would fail than have someone else's success on top of their success.
True.
So
now, hopefully they would look to the movie for some inspiration.
Yes.
Doesn't have to be that exact tone. They can be a little more serious here and there if they want.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny? The Forgotten Realms as a location is not actually particularly amazing.
No, it's just a standard fantasy world, really.
It's a pretty standard fantasy world
It does
put
have the
together
big
by
city,
a
Waterdeep.
bunch of different writers over the years. But it's also got some neat and iconic areas and ideas in it.
Got a Beholder Crime Lord named Zanzar.
Yep. A lot of the coolest stuff does seem to be in Waterdeep. But people who've played Baldur's Gate, which was one of the biggest hit games of the last year or two, 3, whatever it is.
Yep.
If they go to Baldur's Gate, people are going to be like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
What else? We know the Red Wizards of Thay from the recent movie.
Yep. Because it was in the Forgotten Realms. They could do any of those characters.
Yep. And if they ever jump back to any of the characters or any of the stuff from when I was playing those early Commodore 64 games,
Pool of Radiance.
Pool of Radiance or Curse of the Azure Bonds, then I'll be there for that. And I read enough of the books in the era, too. But yeah, Drizzt and Minsk and Boo and stuff like that would be some of the big ones to hit. So, do we know anything about who's...
No,
Nothing.
this is
That's all we know.
starting
Just
to
announced
get
it.
developed. But it seems likely because all these people have current deals with Netflix.
Yeah.
Sean Levy has done multiple movies.
What do you guys think? Should it be a new kind of adventuring party? Should they run into occasional icons like Drizzt? Should they? They probably don't want to bake a whole show around him.
I don't know what I mean. I have a feeling they may cast like Drizzt and some of those guys and make it a big like those characters. But I would prefer it to be new characters, and then Drizzt shows up as a. Right.
The thing is, like, he's such a badass. Is that like? How do you originally that paladin in the D&D movie was going to be Drizzt.
Yeah.
And it's like, how does he, like, not outclass everyone there? Yeah. Because if you show him in his formative days, well, he's kind of not Drizzt. Because basically Drizzt becomes Drizzt when he is the Wolverine, like, badass that he becomes.
Right.
And at that point, how does he not show up everybody?
Well, I just hope we get Jonathan. Some more Jonathan.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Let an Aarakocra join.
Yes.
Let an Aarakocra fly.
All right, we're going to give you a spoiler warning for Captain America Brave New World, which we all saw.
Yes.
And we're going to probably spoil a bunch of it. So,
it's true.
If you don't want to be spoiled, and you don't.
If you don't want to know that Red Hulk is in it.
Whoops.
Whoopsie.
And they kind of spoiled that themselves.
They did.
In a lot of ways.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's the hook.
Yeah, I don't know. There's no way they couldn't have revealed
that.
No,
I know.
But yeah, let's talk about Captain America Brave New World, the fourth Cap movie, which is also the first Cap movie starring Anthony Mackie.
Yeah. And which just opened to like a rather strong opening weekend.
Yeah, looks like.
Dethroning the mighty Paddington in Peru.
In Peru.
I am not.
The Paddington movies are delightful.
Just saying, Paddington 3 versus Cap 4. Cap 4 wins.
But like, just saying, here was Paddington out eating like a marmalade sandwich or something like that, and a shield comes flying from out of nowhere.
Just decapitates him.
Right, it just hits him in the neck really hard.
Oh.
And he's like, oh, bother. Oh, that's Winnie the Pooh. Whatever.
Winnie the Pooh.
Same dude. Same dude. Paddington is just British Pooh.
I mean, Winnie the Pooh's in Disney, so, he could fight Captain America.
Wait, was Winnie the Pooh British too?
Christopher Robin is British. I believe Winnie the Pooh is of no nation.
He doesn't believe in it. He's just a pretty hardcore anarchist.
Winnie the Pooh is a anti-nationalist anarchist. Yeah.
So,
him and Piglet throwing Molotovs.
To start this conversation, what did y'all think of this movie?
Oh, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did too. The Cap movies are my favorite movies.
Yes.
Aside from Avengers, they're my favorite MCU movies. I thought this was the weakest of the four, to be honest. But that's because the bar is so high.
Agreed.
It in many ways, it felt like there's a little bit of smallness to it.
Yeah.
She
Which is
isolated
weird, 'cause it's like the
house.
President and an assassination attempt.
Right, and there's an Eternals giant body thing out in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
Finally talked about again.
Yeah, you say finally. I never saw Eternals, so I had to just roll with it. But that's fine. I know these kind of things happen.
Yep.
But it felt like a continuation of Falcon Winter Soldier.
Yep.
Which it was in some ways.
For sure.
But I liked Falcon Winter Soldier, and so I thought that was like, it was fun to just see more of that. It was kind of in that same way that, like, to me, like, judged harshly, I feel like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom is a definite step down from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
But, like, if I kind of, when I mellowed on it a little bit over the years, I was just like, well, just as, like, another adventure of Indiana Jones with some fun, lots of fun character moments and cool escapes, and doesn't Indy look cool on that rope bridge and all that stuff? I was like, well, then I can kind of really dig it. And this kind of reminded me of that. I
think it's kind of that's where a lot of the criticism of the MCU is coming from. The stuff that's not coming from racism.
Yeah.
Is the people are like, well, where's my next end game? And I'm like, y'all, that was 10 years. They did 10 years of movies. Like, we're all used to as comics people, like, there's week in, week out stories.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes these stories, it's a movie, but like it's gonna be one story. It's like an adventure of Captain America. This is not like every story
can't be giant.
Every story can't be the biggest story of Cap's life, because you can't keep doing that rising action over and over again.
Right.
And I thought this is a big story because it's a story of like Carl Lumley's Isaiah,
yes,
being brought back into the world a little bit, and the sort of the fatherly relationship he and Sam have developed.
Yep.
And Sam taking on the role of Captain America, which is a huge pressure thing.
Yep.
Like, it is a big story.
Right.
But it is not like at the same time, it is not like Hydra is revealed to be S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right. Let me quick ask: does Harrison Ford step down as president in the end?
He does. He does. Yeah.
Right. Again, that's a pretty big thing in universe.
Yes.
So first of all, I want to quick say, I thought Carl Lumley is great.
He's so good.
And has one of the coolest action scenes. He's cool, tearing up ass.
He's cool in pretty much everything he is, but as Isaiah Bradley, he gets to be
he's great casting for Isaiah Bradley.
He's got a sort of, I mean, in addition to being a skilled actor, his rapport with Sam and other people is such that he can sound like, that granddad that you kind of been hanging around with forever, who knows you and can kind of bust your chops a little bit, and you just kind of believe it right away.
Yeah. But he also plays him. I mean, even with all that strength and he plays him as kind of haunted and broken. This is a guy who was put in prison and tortured for decades.
The scene at the gym where Sam is introducing Joaquin to Isaiah Bradley was probably my favorite scene of the entire movie.
Right.
Yeah.
It just had so much kind of character building.
Joaquin is a little bit. He's not always cautious about what he says.
Nope.
Puts his foot in it.
He's
sometimes.
young, but he's also he's got a little bit of bravado.
And we should say this is the Falcon and
the new Falcon.
Who Nick Spencer created in the comics, I believe.
Yep. Yeah. And was it's.
But he was in Falcon.
He was in Falcon Winter Soldier. He was his Air Force contact. Yeah.
It was cool to see him in a costume. Costume was very much of the Nick Spencer
run. Did a great job. Yeah.
And then for me, I also. There was an interesting thing where I wasn't sure where they wanted to head with the Red Hulk story.
Yeah, I wasn't sure either.
They do kind of hold out I thought that might happen early on.
Yeah, it's the third act.
Yeah. It's the final act of it, and what it actually gave. So I was sort of surprised. More serious acting chances for Harrison Ford than I expected.
Yep.
Because I sort of thought, I was like, well, I know that Harrison Ford can take a paycheck like anyone else.
Yeah.
And although he hasn't said anything bad about the movie, I
think he's actively said good things. Unlike he's basically said this is kind of a fun thing to do. And there's a story out from some generic staffer who's he was so grumpy the whole time, and the staffer sounds full of shit.
Yeah. Well, he's also...
do you know he's
also
80?
He's grumpy?
Yeah, he's grumpy, and he's fucking 80, and you're putting dots on his forehead. Of course he's grumpy.
But, so, I was surprised when he had emotional scenes that are about, having lost, essentially his daughter because of his... The way he's lived his life over the years, he's on the verge of tears.
Yeah.
And he seemed to be all in.
They definitely paid off stuff that I had never expected to pay off. The Hulk relationship.
Bringing back talked about this, but
bringing back Liv Tyler was a shocker.
Yeah. Right. When they so yes, there's big connections to the first Hulk movie.
Yeah.
AKA what was that the second?
That was the second Marvel movie. Yeah.
Of the current MCU universe. Yeah. So the leader recurs. Thunderbolt Ross, of course, now the president.
Yep.
Is a major character, and you just said Betsy.
Betty.
Yeah.
Betty.
Is it Betty? Betty Ross.
Yeah. Betty Birdface.
Betty Birdface.
Sorry, Jeff Loeb flashback. But yes, early on he plays a voicemail or something from her.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Probably they might have even voice cloned that. I don't know if it's real.
I figure once they played the voicemail, I think that's halfway through they played the voicemail.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I bet she's in this.
And see, I was like, that's neat. I like that they did it, but I bet that's all we get.
Yeah.
And so I was pleased that his character arc was about. I was like,
kind of reconnecting to that, but also they gave Ross a humanizing arc.
Yeah.
Which they've done somewhat in the comics too, and I think have done pretty well.
But without undercutting him, they clearly he is a bad guy in a lot of ways. He was torturing the leader. He was definitely he has this reputation as this hard-charging Hulkbuster.
Right.
He ruined his relation with his daughter over trying to pursue her ex-boyfriend.
And here's the thing is something that may be very hard to imagine in our current day and age.
What?
He accepted the consequences.
I don't know what that looks like.
And then tried to take responsibility for them. This is why these characters are aspirational, Randy.
Yeah.
We try to live up to them. Most people don't.
Well, it's funny, Dave. I mean, taking responsibility for your own actions is such a Republican thing, and it's not like we have a Republican president who has the opportunity to do that.
We're also introduced to a new organization within the Marvel Universe, Serpent.
Oh, right.
I liked their version of as a militarized kind of thing, but I came in, as did you, Nick, on the Serpent Society like this, and I felt like my one big gripe with this movie was that they were really kind of embarrassed about the costumes.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted the Serpent Society to be snake-themed villains.
Yeah.
You guys have given us a fucking raccoon. You can't give me a guy in a serpent suit who can teleport? Like, he's game to, the other guy's game to play Red Hulk. You're telling me you can't get, what's his name?
Giancarlo
Esposito to dress up in a snake suit?
I mean,
give him a few more dollars.
Didn't he voice a psychotic person in that Far Cry game? Like, he's not out.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm
not saying he's bad. He's very good in this as kind of this badass villain. There's a great fight
pretty
scene.
Scary in it.
There's a great fight scene between him and Sam. But I was definitely let down that the Serpent Society was a generic terrorist group.
I agree, but I see why they kind of did it, because the Cap movies have actually been some of the more realistic ones.
Yeah, but I mean, even their Batroc, he wore the Brubaker version of the Batroc suit.
Right.
And he was just in, like, generic military gear here.
And the guy that Sam fights...
Their Copperhead, who's nothing like Copperhead.
I know. I was like...
You couldn't at least call him Puff Adder.
I know. I wanted it to be Puff Adder, but...
Which brings me to one of my other gripes, which was both my high point and then low point right after that.
Yeah.
And you know what it is.
I do.
There's this awesome, like, bearded special ops guy who's helping Sam out.
Yeah.
When he doesn't know he can trust, but he can trust this guy who's like a Navy SEAL or whatever.
Yep.
And this guy is off on his own, and he's talking to Sam on the phone, and he reveals his name, and his name is Dunphy.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh shit, they're doing D-Man? And nothing like the D-Man in the comics.
No.
He is neither a pro wrestler or idolized Cap, nor a homeless man.
Right.
Although they did
D-Man did become a soldier.
in there that he became a soldier, yeah.
So, but I was like, that's a cool idea. This guy, this trustworthy ally of Cap as D-Man, like, that's great. And they killed him like 2 minutes later.
I know.
Yeah.
That was my one gripe. I immediately texted our thread as I walked out of the theater. I was
but mostly I was just happy. I mean, honestly, there's no part of me that expected them to ever do D-Man. But I guess they'd already done Battlestar, so really, it's a possibility. So I was so thrilled to see that little bit, and then I was real unhappy when they killed him off.
I know. I was like, just keep him around.
Yeah, don't kill him.
Just, did he 100% die?
I mean, it's pretty heavily implied.
I know that
could come. There's no way. No one's going to be like, "Oh, we should bring D-Man back."
The leader had that sonic thing that was like,
it would
like
he like burst his heart or something.
It was like burst his heart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he said he bursted his heart.
Okay.
Is there a world in which they give him some kind of super soldier serum and he becomes Is that the world we live in? No.
You know what? Like, they have done a raccoon.
Yeah, that's true.
They have done a raccoon.
Yeah.
So let's just.
I know there were a lot of rewrites and stuff for this.
Keep D-Man in your heart.
I would love an unlimited class wrestling. Yeah. I don't even like wrestling, but if they would do the unlimited class wrestling stories, they did so much cool stuff.
They're just about to bring in the Thing.
Yeah. It would be awesome if they did that. They won't, but it'd be awesome.
It'd be a fun thing to drop, like Jen Walters in.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
But one of the things I did like in this movie, we talked about it a little bit, that they touched on stuff that I thought was forgotten. All the Hulk stuff.
Yep.
The Eternals Island. Because basically the end of Eternals, spoilers, for a movie probably none of you have seen, and shouldn't. The Eternal who is like cooking inside the Earth starts to come out, and stop it.
It's a Celestial.
It's a Celestial, not the Eternal. Celestial.
Right, a giant.
A big giant.
Big Galactus-sized man.
They stop him, so there's basically the Celestial head and hand. And because Celestials are such big, space technology, space gods, essentially, it is where they get adamantium for the first time.
Yep.
Which I thought was super cool.
It was.
It's a good way to introduce, because we know Wolverine's coming.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, that was a neat reveal.
It was a good thing to hang the story on, the idea of this treaty to, every nation could share an adamantium.
That reminded me of also, like, a kind of an extended sequence with, I believe it had both Cap and... oh my gosh, Falcon.
Yeah.
Versus some various fighter jets.
Yeah, that was cool.
In and around there, which were cool scenes, and also reminds me of the big cool action scene with Red Hulk, of course. I thought throughout that they handled the tech related to his wings.
Yeah.
Whether it's shielding him, doing the sonic boom attack.
It was cool that they gave the Black Panther.
Yeah, we knew from Cap that Wakanda built the suit, but I didn't think about them putting Black Panther technology in it.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool thing.
Yeah, so they basically juiced him up a little bit, since he doesn't have the super soldier serum, which was
becomes
discussed
a plot point.
a few times. This gives him, an edge. He's got the shield already, but he's also kind of got some cool abilities now to where he can take on the Hulk, or at least fight him to a standstill for a little bit.
Yeah.
Which was cool, by the way. I liked how he did that. I liked that his wings were sharp enough with this new tech to cut the Hulk.
But I also like that he knew he was going to lose from the start of that fight.
Right.
He's like, I am outclassed.
Well, it was doing the whole Archangel...
the Archangel blade wings.
Blade
I thought that was
firing into... I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I thought all the fight choreography was actually really good. Utilizing, the jets, Red Wing, all of the all of the tools at Sam's disposal. He was utilizing in a way that made sense and made him a threat.
Yeah.
Not only being trained by Cap, like Steve, helped him out with fighting stances, and then him creating his own fighting unique things.
We do take for granted that they do a lot of cool shield ricochets.
Yeah.
They're just really good at that.
I think that's one of the other things people reviewing these. There's been some mixed reviews, negative reviews, and I think a lot of people are like, go back and look at Cap 1 and look at how sort of timid it was about some things, and look at where we are now, and it's like, the thing is, we were so blown away at they're doing the costumes and they're doing the shield bounce and all that stuff, that now we've gotten used to it, and it's not amazing anymore. But it's amazing how much he bounces the shield everywhere. They do cool superhero stuff all the time.
And then there was the cool cameo. Which
the Winter Soldier, which
Bucky, which apparently
he's running for Congress.
I'm like, how is that going to fit in with the Thunderbolts? Where he is apparently running a Black Ops group.
I am super curious about that. I thought that was really cool. Also, let's talk about not Sabra.
Oh yeah.
So Sabra is a problematic character. She's an Israeli national secret agent.
100% problematic.
And I think that they did some reshoots and stuff. They renamed her.
This character was invented in late 70s or early 80s by Bill Mantlo, who did a lot of international heroes.
Yep.
She was considered a problematic character at the time, or that is to say, she was written into morally complex stories.
But she had a cool look,
as best they could in the 70s, 80s.
So the idea of making her, she was Israeli born, but she was trained in the Widow program, so she's like a Black Widow.
Right,
I thought that was cool,
version.
and the character, the actress, I thought was a really good character.
Sure. Yes,
I thought she did a good job. But again, give me a goddamn costume.
She had the blue
a little
armor little bit.
It's not. I like.
It's real.
Again, you've given me raccoons. You can give me costumes.
I mean, you're not wrong.
And I think that is, if I have a gripe,
Ant-Man.
if I have a gripe about this, and that's my bigger gripe, I think they've gotten a little timid about, because of Ant-Man and that kind of thing. People were making fun of it, like, oh, this looks like Spy Kids. I think someone at Marvel got to be like, we got to go back to the sort of faux military thing, and I think that's a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, the reason that looked like Spy Kids is just because your FX weren't up to it, and they made a few bad calls.
They better not do that with X-Men.
God, I hope not.
X-Men need the
We
costumes.
need the costumes.
You need the individual.
We've already had the black leather X-Men. I want costumes.
Lord knows they should learn a lesson from X-Men 97.
Yeah.
Although it looks like the FF. They've got
the FF has the costumes.
So
I think that...
But the Mole Man is just going to be like a guy in a suit.
No, it's got to be in green with the glasses. If he's not, that's not Mole Man.
Captain America has been a little more militarized throughout.
Yeah.
And I do think that they... I mean... Sam is in costume the whole time. The Falcon costume looks great. Like, I'm not saying they didn't do anything.
Yeah. They did a lot with him out of costume.
I think they were a little timid about it. Also, one thing I was kind of surprised they didn't mention, Sam, when he first meets Cap, talks about having lost his wingman.
Yeah.
And we've never heard a word about that dude. The impression was that they were such good friends, he quit being a pilot.
Yeah.
Because this guy died. And yet we don't know his name. We know nothing about him.
His name was Goose, Randy.
And having him with a new partner, who's also his wingman, would have been the perfect time to explore that a little bit. And maybe it was just too much going on. I think
it was probably too much. They already had the Red Hulk.
Also, I know they're not going to do this, but Sam Wilson is the only character who doesn't have like a familiar... He has love interests in the comic, but not like big love interests.
Right.
Like, I couldn't name any of his girlfriends.
He was with Carol for a little while.
No, that's War Machine.
Oh, that was that War Machine?
Yeah. It happens. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that was War Machine.
It was Rhodey.
I mean, it could be Falcon too. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, I like the way he talked about his wingman being lost and the sort of buddy thing he's got going with the Falcon. I'm like, they could make him gay. They're not gonna, but they could.
Right. Yeah. He could also be a guy. He could be a dude who's just like asexual or romantic or something like that.
You want to talk about people's heads exploding?
Oh,
Captain America's black and gay.
I want to go ahead and, when you just suggested that, Randy, an alternate universe was created somewhere.
Yes, yeah.
So let's definitely take the time sphere and travel to that.
Let's go see what
check
happened.
it out.
Yeah.
There's no Earth anymore. It's
I want to go. I want to read the comments. This is what starts the Civil War.
You know that the Earth we're in right now is definitely somebody's weird alternate Earth.
Yeah. Someone made a really weird.
We got the bad one. There's somewhere they're like, oh, Randy has a beard in your world? He's clean shaven in our world. Huh. What does that mean? Is he evil?
Yes.
By the way, one final thing I want to mention was just a cool bit of FX. I like as the battle-damaged Falcon 2 at the end, the way they looked on that when he had a partially shattered wing.
Yeah.
Could still do, the other one could work, and he was still working with it as best he could. I'm just like, it's a cool look. It's a cool look. They should make a figure that's battle-damaged Falcon.
Okay, I was wrong.
One last thing.
Yes.
The post-credit sequence was a loser.
It was.
I wanted
so much so that I actually forgot what it was.
It's just the leader talking about how they're evil versions of the heroes coming or whatever. Right. It's basically leading into Civil War or Secret Wars.
Right.
But I wanted Miss Marvel recruiting Isaiah's grandson.
Patriot.
I wanted that or something else. I wanted some
X-Men or FF lead
or someone in Canada working on adamantium or something they could have given us something, and instead it's just a kind of a dumb thing. Also, I thought Tim Blake Nelson was not underused as the leader.
I kind of agree.
He's okay, but we know he's capable of way more than they gave him.
In the somewhat the tradition of Marvel movies, the hero's conflict among themselves was more interesting than the villain.
And I think if those are the choices we get, I would rather have that. I think people have griped about Marvel villains, but remember when the Joker basically stole Batman's movie from him.
Right.
I don't want it to be focused on the villains, so I'm okay with the villains being a little bit off to the side. I feel like they underused a really good actor in a really strong role.
Yeah, that's fair.
But all told, I really liked this.
You know what's interesting is that on social media, Facebook and stuff like that will be pointing out to me here's the page for it, or here's the movie theater page promoting it or whatever. And sometimes I look at the comments and fans are jaded and jaundiced these days, and the comments are generally a cesspool, especially if you've got a character who's a person of color and all that stuff.
Yep.
There's a lot of people liking this movie.
For sure.
Despite some kind of rough critical stuff, if I go and look at an average section of comments on it, there's actually a ton of positivity.
Well, I saw a friend of mine posted, and he's like, I've seen a lot of critics. He's like, none of the people I know, he's like, I've got 15 or 16 people I know, and they've all said this is a good movie. So it is at 49% critic and 80% audience.
Yeah.
Which tells me the critics, again, I think the critics have the knives out because A, they're mad that they think the MCU is cutting into art films.
Yeah.
And B, they're expecting something out of the MCU that isn't there anymore. And it pisses me off a little bit, to be honest. I liked when everybody was liking the Marvel movies.
Yeah. But good news. They're actually kind of liking this.
Yeah.
And the critics don't determine its box office.
Yeah.
So it is nice to see people... I think we could use some heroes right now.
Yep.
And so for this last weekend, it's been nice that Sam was that guy.
Yeah.
And I was misremembering. More recently, Sam had been dating Jane Foster in the comics.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's what my brain was like. Carol and Jane. But
Yep. Okay, that makes sense. All right. Let's talk about Creature Commandos.
Yeah.
Which Nick, you and I both watched.
Yep. Did we talk? We talked about
you and I watched the first 2 episodes, I think.
Right.
And then I tried watching the 3rd episode, and I was like, not sure. And then I decided to rewatch it all, and I ended up loving it.
I recommend it as a binge.
Yeah.
I actually think it works better as a binge.
It does.
And they're only 20, 25-minute episodes, so I was surprised how fast the whole thing went.
James Gunn's kind of R-rated, I'd say, animated series.
Suicide Squad spinoff, essentially.
Yeah, elements, similar types of things from Suicide Squad or Peacemaker.
I mean, they directly reference the second Suicide Squad movie.
Yeah, they do.
And, but with also, I gather, although I have not seen the end, I've only seen 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Some heart in there. I already saw some.
They give a focus on all the characters, like Weasel, the Bride, Frankenstein, G.I. Robot. they all get sort of a spotlight episode.
The original hook for this was that Amanda Waller was like forbidden, after the events of Suicide Squad from using humans for her missions, and so she bypassed that by using people who were like technically classified as monsters or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's got a great voice cast. Alan Tudyk is Dr. Phosphorus.
Yep.
I don't know who the bride, Indra Varma. I don't know where I know her from. She's great.
She's really good. Their bride is one of the best characters.
Zoe Chow is Nina Kaczynski.
Yep.
Where does the mission take place?
It's not Barovia, but it's something like it.
Is it one of their invented countries?
It's an invented country. They're going to protect a princess from an assassination attempt by Cersei and her incel army, which I thought was such a great idea, because you saw this one.
Yes.
It's like she's convinced all these incels that she's going to let them go to Themyscira.
Yeah.
Cersei, Greek goddess, sorceress, witch lady.
Yeah. And that the whole story turns on that nation.
Yeah, it is.
And there's a good reveal and then another reveal. They use a good DC villain to sort of set something up.
This is also the birthplace of the bride.
Yes,
and that's kind of ties in.
Yeah, the bride and Frankenstein both came from this nation.
It's all
David Harbour's Frankenstein is
David
insane.
Harbour's Frankenstein. He's a stalker. He thinks.
right.
In the comic or in the canonically in like Universal Monsters, the bride. I mean, even in like the original Frankenstein,
rejects.
The bride is created for him, and she rejects him.
Yeah.
In this one, she rejects him rather harshly. After in a way that he felt especially betrayed, and so he has convinced himself that she really does love him and he just needs to prove himself. And he usually does that by murdering a lot of people.
Yeah.
And chasing her all over the world and ruining her life wherever she settles.
They do it, basically a clip
yes.
thing.
There's a great clip where they show like 1800 to 1970s.
And it's fantastic. I was 100% shocked that they were able to give a satisfying backstory for Weasel.
Yeah, it's actually the most tragic thing.
It's heartbreaking.
It is. It is the most tragic thing in the show.
But I thought Sean Gunn, who voices
him and
both G.I. Robot and Weasel, did an amazing job with it. I thought the
G.I. Robot is my favorite character. Actually, my second favorite. I love the bride. She's my favorite.
He kills
character.
Nazis.
And not only does he kill Nazis, it's the only thing he wants to do, and he's so happy when he gets to do it. When he's the bit where his buddy is revealed to be a Nazi,
yes,
and he just gets, and it's not like you don't get this like I've been betrayed,
right?
It's like the biggest grin. He's like, oh, I get to kill this entire room full of Nazis, and buddy, can I relate?
Yes.
I believe, at least as far as I saw, but I presume continuing throughout the entire thing is soundtracked with Gogol Bordello.
A lot of Gogol Bordello, but also
100%.
Okay.
They use the Dresden Dolls coin-operated boy for a particularly great sequence of G.I. Robot, and I put that song on my playlist to listen to because I love the song, and listen to it. I'm like, this is a song about vibrators.
Yep.
And they used it for G.I. Robot perfectly.
Oh, amazing. But we would say, like, the Gogol Bordello stuff we saw was, that they did use was great. Yeah, so people who don't remember their Start Wearing Purple was their hit from like 20 years ago. Kind of gypsy punk was
I'm a fan of their stuff. I like their music.
They have about 4 songs on the track. I listened to the soundtrack of
James Gunn always does the deeper cut. So he did use the one well-known song, even though that was also still kind of like a... I doubt it was a number 1 hit here.
But he also used the Have You Ever Been to some kind of Russian wedding?
Yeah.
Which is a great song. Wedding? Is it American Wedding? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's a great song.
Yeah. He's known for his soundtracks.
Also, the opening sequence of this is like, I watched it every time. It's a great opening sequence.
What's the opening sequence?
It's not
as good, showing all the characters.
It's not as good as Peacemaker.
No, it's not as good as Peacemaker, but it is really fun.
And I actually looked up the band, or listened to some of that band's other music. It is just as good.
I mean, Gunn's got a great sense of music.
Yeah. I do recommend this one. I think Randy is right. Binge it.
Watch it in one go if you can.
I also really dug the Dr. Phosphorus episode.
Yeah, really good.
They made all these characters tragic, and I didn't think that would work as well as it does.
Yeah, and there's some great stuff in this.
Even Frank Grillo is
Frank Grillo is
Rick Flag Jr. or Rick Flag Sr.
Yeah, yeah. I dug the hell out of this. I definitely would recommend people watch it. I won't say I liked it as much as Peacemaker.
No, Peacemaker's great,
but it's close. It's closer than I expected.
Yeah, it's closer than I expected.
And you said, Randy, that unusually it gave you some good vibes for how the Superman movie might come out. Even though the Superman movie is obviously going to be quite different from this.
But I think what we need from Superman, we need someone to be able to do Superman as like this noble hero, but he's got to be in this world that's kind of fucked.
Yeah.
And Gunn is good at that. Gunn is good at doing, like, the world is kind of fucked, but you can still be a hero in it.
Yeah.
And so I think this maybe convinced me that he's the guy who can do that.
What if Superman swears a lot?
Kryptonian fuck. Okay. More spoilers. Dave, do you care about spoilers for The Gorge?
Nah.
Okay. So Nick and I watched this Apple Plus movie, The Gorge.
Yep.
We talked about the trailer a while back.
We found the trailer to be weirdly fun.
Yeah. It had a big sort of gorge ravine type thing, present day.
Yes.
It is in present day.
And a rival, sort of a Russian and an American sniper on each side, and a mysterious thing about, like, they don't know exactly what they're guarding, but they think it might be a gate
supposed
to hell.
keep things coming out of the gorge.
Somebody says they think it's the gate to hell.
Yeah.
So I think we also thought, and it showed in the trailer, like it showed them jumping into the gorge.
Right.
Yes.
They forge a connection of some sort, even though you're not supposed to talk to the other sniper. But they did.
And I think we thought they'd maybe given away too much in the trailer, but they didn't.
No. And honestly, the kind of, I hate to call it romance part of the movie.
The romance between them works.
But it is like the crux of the movie.
Yeah.
It's what makes the movie work.
Well, because they're both... Her dad had, right before she goes to this job, her dad tells her that he's going to kill himself.
Because he's got
cancer. She's like, Valentine's Day next year, I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah.
And he is clearly, like, broken by whatever he's done in the military.
Yeah. And she is on the way of becoming that same
they're
person.
they're both kind of broken, and they find each other, and they kind of like find a new reason to live, and it's a very believable romance.
But there was like some of the elements of like the Dawn of the Dead, where they're communicating by signboard, writing things out. There's cleverness on how he is able to sort of have dinner with her.
Yeah.
There was just more to it than I was expecting, and I actually thought Miles Teller did a pretty good job. I didn't feel like any of these characters were kind of just one note. They kind of built it up a little bit more than I was expecting.
But also,
I know that you also already said that it felt like a video game movie.
This felt like the world building and all this kind of feels like this felt like you would go into the video game and you would fight in the gorge and you'd find these monsters. So the reveal of what caused the gorge and who they're working for,
it's pretty cool.
And the creatures is really good.
Yeah.
And their creature design is really good.
The creature design's great.
And the ultimate like reasoning of like what they have to do and Sigourney Weaver's character and what she's up to, like
she was underutilized.
She was underutilized, but she's good as a scary boss.
She is. I mean, it's not completely different than what she played in Cabin in the Woods.
Right.
Cabin in the Woods.
She's corporate boss.
She was corporate boss in that kind of.
She was in the Cabin in the Woods?
She was the villain.
Yeah.
God, I'd forgotten that. All I remember is the two guys running the show.
Yeah.
But...
anyway, some fantastic action stuff, I thought. Really good creature design. And I thought the ending was a little bit, like, it didn't quite land as much as I wanted it to. Like, I feel like there was some tightening up that could have been done in some of the writing.
Yeah.
But in general, I had a really good time with this.
Yeah. I think it's
y'all's talk about it has made me interested enough that I might just watch it tonight.
Yep. Well, we didn't give away. You have. I don't know if you had Apple Plus, so.
Oh, you're right.
That's why I was like,
I can't watch it.
We can spoil it because Dave can't watch it.
But this isn't a win for Scott Derrickson, I thought.
Who's that?
Right. The Doctor Strange dudes.
The director.
Isn't this Cargill? Right.
Cargill's producer. Somebody else wrote.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah. The other thing, the reason I got HBO.
Yep.
Partly was watching Creature Commandos, but the reason I got it now, as opposed to waiting for Last of Us, is that it turns out the thing I've been griping about for like weeks on this podcast, they apparently did a Waitress the Musical movie in 2023.
Yeah.
All right. And usually the thing you were griping about is, as we've discussed some various plays and musicals and things like that, you're like, man, it's expensive and hard to get to.
And I'd like to rewatch it.
Theaters, for theatrical performances. Wouldn't it be cool if there was a way to see more of that without, having to pay and leave your couch?
I still hold to this, but Waitress is the one I've been calling out, and they actually did make it, and it's a really good version of it.
Film version or filmed theater version?
Kind of like Hamilton.
Okay, that was the filmed theater version.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a film. I mean, they're moving the sets and stuff around, so it is a film theater version.
Okay, yeah. And Hamilton did that great.
Yeah.
I thought.
It has Sarah Bareilles as the lead, and she's fantastic. You'd know her. She does Not Gonna Write You a Love Song, that song.
Yeah.
She was in Girls 5 Eva.
Yeah.
She's done a bunch of stuff. She's really great. The rest of the cast I didn't recognize, but I thought they were all really good. The songs are really good. The choreography is really good. I really enjoyed this production of it.
Core premise of this, because I don't really know it.
Core premise is there's a woman who's a waitress. She has this sort of deadbeat redneck husband who kind of emotionally abuses her. She's a genius at making pies.
Okay.
Like her mom taught her to make pies. And so she's making pies for this diner, and she's going to enter this competition and she gets pregnant by her husband.
Okay.
And she's like, it's like this whole thing of like, well, she's going to be stuck with him forever now. Yeah. And it's a lot about that. And there's also like one of the other waitresses who meets and falls in love with somebody else. One of their waitresses has an infirm husband, and she's having an affair with somebody. Yeah. Just like, it's all centered around this diner.
Right. It sounds pretty serious. Is there any lightness in this?
It is, yeah. And the date of the other waitress is a hilarious character, very larger than life.
Yeah.
Their diner owner is kind of like Mel from Alice, you know, that kind of thing. There's a lot of like good dialogue and interaction, and
right on.
It's a lot of fun, but it is dark. It is about sort of
honestly, there's some great some of the musicals we know, like everything, like Chicago and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Even Dr. Horrible are actually quite dark.
But also, she winds up having an affair with her doctor, who is taking her pregnancy, who in the movie, the non-musical movie, is played by Nathan Fillion.
Okay. Oh.
And her abusive husband is played by Jeremy Sisto. Uh-huh. And Kerry Russell plays the lead.
Okay.
And so I was definitely missing some of those, because those characters were great.
Yeah.
But the people they got are really good. And they do a really interesting thing with like the affair, where it's like, he's married, she's married. There's this question of whether or not they're bad people for doing this.
Yeah.
And they address it in sort of a really mature way by the end, I thought.
Nice.
I thought this was really, really well done. The music is great.
Where's this stream?
This is on Max.
Okay.
I would highly recommend this to people if you're at all a musical fan. You want to check this out.
Right on. Yeah, that sounds interesting to me. Sorry, did you say there is a regular version?
It's a regular movie made by Adrian Shelley.
Still a musical?
No, not a musical.
Oh. Just the story?
Just the story. The movie came first, and the musical came later.
That's
so
unusual.
the movie, and the interesting thing about the movie, the tragic thing about the movie, it was made by Adrian Shelley, this woman she's in it, she plays one of the waitresses, and she was killed in her New York apartment before the movie premiered.
Oh, wow.
So, like, she finished the movie, she saw the premiere, and then she was killed.
Good Lord.
Yeah. So there's this, like, tragic undertone of, like, this woman made an amazing movie, and never got to make anything else.
Well, okay. Yeah. They I guess both versions sound interesting.
Both are on Max. I recommend both of them. In fact, I would probably recommend watching the movie version first. It's shorter; it'll give you the story. Yeah. And then watching the musical, because it has a different
see how they handle it. Yeah.
Last thing I want to mention is Cobra Kai, which had finished its 6th season. Maybe
is it the end?
It's the finale. They wrap it all up. They've been parceling this one out. It's 15 episodes. They're parceling it in 3 5-episode chunks. So I waited till it all happened and binged it all in one day. Because I'm getting rid of Netflix for a while.
Right.
And when this first came out, I don't know if we probably were podcasting at that point. I was very down on this idea. I was like, I don't want to see a bully redeemed.
Yeah.
I don't want to see any of this. It sounds terrible. And then I think, Dave, you watched it first, I think. Yep. And sort of was like, this is fun. You should watch it.
This is what I occasionally do, is I'll watch that or Breaking Bad or something like that. And I'll be like, hey, you guys might want to take a look at this.
And then you never finish it.
I never finish it, and y'all finish it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for.
Yep. You're the heroin dealer of TV.
I guess.
Yeah,
I don't say. I only sample the product.
You don't get hooked on your own product.
That's right.
You get us hooked. And then we all wind up strung out, waiting for more episodes of Cobra Kai in a dank apartment building.
You seem to indicate that they did a pretty good job with the finale.
They did. It's a lot of fun. They pay off all the characters. They introduced a lot of characters in this show.
Yeah.
Because not only did they do the first movie, but then eventually they started bringing everybody in. They brought in the bad guy from Karate Kid 2 and made him an ally of his. It's all about them getting older and changing and maturing. So, like, this guy who basically tried to kill him in Japan is now this, like, older guy, and he's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I was messed up. I don't know what I was doing.
Did they use the same actor?
I believe it's the same actor.
Oh, man. I kind of love that they do that with this particular franchise. Not every franchise would make it work, but...
Not just that. The third Karate Kid movie, by the way, which I had not seen prior to seeing Cobra Kai.
Swank.
And that's the fourth one.
Okay.
The third one is actively terrible.
Oh, yeah.
It is... Ralph Macchio is in his 20s, but he's still playing a kid, and believably playing a kid.
Yeah.
He has a love interest who he cannot be. They decide she was his friend, not his love interest, because she was actually a teenager. And he's like, whoa. I can't be making out with a teenager. I'm like 25.
Yeah.
So they had
Ralph Macchio
was like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So the plot of Karate Kid 3...
Good for him.
Yeah, good for him. The plot of Karate Kid 3 is that he and Mr. Miyagi are going to open a bonsai store.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem like the greatest business plan.
Yeah.
But they are threatened by Terry Silver, an ex-Vietnam veteran who is friends with Kreese, who is like a crazy man who hires another karate man to come in and harass Ralph Macchio.
That's some crazy stuff.
It is nuts. And
did they fold it in?
Terry Silver is the bad guy the last 2 seasons. And he is a crazy industrialist ponytail man, straight out of like a Lethal Weapon movie.
Yeah.
It's great. And he is enjoying chewing the scenery.
You told me that they do a little bit of meta calling out of their own weirdness at times.
They do. They absolutely are like... They're a bit in like the 3rd or 4th season where someone's at a city council meeting like, why are we beset by karate gangs?
Yeah.
And... they do this whole thing where Ralph Macchio is running Miyagi-Do, Johnny's running Cobra Kai, and then Kreese, the sensei of Cobra Kai, comes back and takes Cobra Kai. So Johnny and LaRusso have to team up.
Yep.
And Johnny makes a new dojo called Eagle Fang. And then they're all working together and debating the name. And then Cobra Kai is like gone, and it comes back as like a Korean studio. That like Kreese goes to Korea and this woman that he knew when she was a kid, and he's got a whole new bunch of students, and they come in because this season is like the international tournament.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But like all these characters, all these kids have gone from like Miyagi-Do to Cobra Kai, bad guy to good guy. This guy's a bully. This guy's being bullied. This bully is now being bullied. Like they love to do, even more than Fast and Furious. This loves to do the bad guys become good guys become bad guys thing.
Yeah,
it is delightful and super fun, and the karate is pretty good.
Yeah.
This one introduces an evil Irish karate dojo.
Okay, I was not.
Yep. No, I wasn't either.
Tradition, but
there's also the Brazilian karate team, which is the one to beat, which is being secretly run. Spoilers by Terry Silver. And they have their karate lady is like karate queen named Zara or something like that, and she has a Instagram following, and she's like an influencer and a karate girl.
Yeah.
And the other guy...
You know what? That's one of the fun things about the series that I've seen, because I've only seen like 2 seasons of it or whatever, is that their interaction with kind of the modern world. Not just with the characters getting older, but also kind of with everything that our world is now. You know, so it's Johnny, who's like, what's cancel culture? And, like all this stuff. And and social media and stuff like that, finding its way in is fun to see with these characters who are, have roots in the 80s. Yeah. Basically long before this stuff.
They didn't actually wind up bringing in Hilary Swank. That was the only surprise. Like, they brought in everybody else. They had Ali come back there, the girl who was
If it does connect up to the upcoming Karate Kid movie,
I'd be very happy.
Then somewhere in these new movies coming up, get Hilary Swank in there, y'all.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, Cobra Kai, worth a watch.
Cool.
And it's all available now. All right, that's it for us this week. We'll be back next week with more. Until that time, yo, Joe.
Roguecast is a weekly podcast broadcast from Rogues Gallery Comics and Games in Round Rock, Texas. You can find us online on Facebook and at www.roguesgallerytx.com and email us comments or questions at roguesgallerytx@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.